Hola a todos, soy Meg con Mamá Oso Yoga. Mil gracias por estar aquí, por practicar conmigo hoy. And I just said that all in Spanish. Sorry guys. Hi, this is Meg with Mom Bear Yoga. Thanks for being here. We're going to start off in mountain pose. Stand tall, reach your hands down towards the earth. Inhale, exhale, relax your shoulders, maybe close your eyes. We're going to move quickly today in this sequence and challenge ourselves with some balancing postures, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a little bit of fun while doing so. Find your grounding. Feel your feet against the earth. You're here. Let's make the most of it. Flex your knees and lift your arms up and overhead. Then gently fold your torso over your legs. Forward fold. Slide your hands to your shins or to your thighs. Inhale here. Exhale and release. Deep breaths, stretching it out, warming up your body. And from here, we'll come forward to downward facing dog with your feet planted on the earth and your hips up and towards the sky. Rock forward to a plank, lower all the way to your belly, and then rise up in cobra. And then you can push your way back up to a plank pose. And from there, send your hips up and back to downward facing dog. Deep breaths in and out. Bend your knees, hop forward towards your hands. Forward fold, slide your hands to your shins or to your thighs. Release. Slowly rise back up to mountain pose, reaching your arms up and overhead. And once again, bow forward, reaching your hands toward the earth. Slide your hands back to your shins or to your thighs. Release and come forward to plank pose. From there, sink your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Rock forward to plank pose, and you can either lower all the way down and then rise up in cobra, or you can lower halfway, chaturanga, and then come up in upward facing dog. And then sink your hips up and back, returning to our downward facing dog. From here, lift your right leg up and towards the sky. Think about trying to keep your hips level as you do so. And then draw your right knee up and in towards your heart and plant it between your two hands. We'll come into a high lunge here, but if that's a little too much today, you can keep your back knee resting on the earth or lift it. Reach your arms up towards the sky. Trace them with your eyes too, challenging your balance a bit here. Deep breaths in and out. Bring your hands to your heart. Step your back foot up about halfway, and we'll give Warrior 3 a try. If you fall as you are trying to lift your left leg up, balancing as best as you can on your right, it's okay. You can also use a door or the wall or furniture to help you balance, like I'm doing here. Remember that yoga is practice, and if you fall, that's normal. From Warrior 3, we will land and then come to chair pose with both feet on the earth, sinking your hips down and back and reaching your arms up and overhead with your knees bent. Deep breaths. Try and keep your spine straight here, or as straight as you can. And now fold forward, stretching it back out. Slide your hands to your shins or to your thighs, flat back. Release and hop or step back to a plank. Lower either all the way to the ground and then rise up in cobra, or lower halfway and then upward facing dog. Then we'll all meet in down dog. Lift your left leg up and towards the sky. Think about keeping your hips level. Draw your left knee in and then plant your left foot between your two hands. And we'll try that high lunge on the other side. Remember that you can also lower your back knee if high lunge with the back knee lifted is a little too much today. You can reach your arms up and overhead and send your gaze towards the sky, challenging your balance a bit. Maybe you bend your back knee to make sure you've got your hips centered. And from here, you'll draw your hands to your heart, step your back knee up, and then see if you can float it up for a little bit of Warrior 3 practice. And again, remember that balancing on doors or walls or furniture, if you need it, is a-okay. If you've got your balance, you might extend your arms behind you like airplane arms. And if you don't, you can try it another day. Lower both feet down, and from there we'll return to that chair pose. And then forward fold. Slide your hands and rise all the way up in mountain pose. And bring your hands to your heart. Inhale, exhale. We're about halfway and you're doing great. Lift up your left leg and grab your left ankle with your left hand. Reach your right hand out in front of you or use it to balance like I'm doing there as we give dancer pose a try. Deep breaths into your low back and your belly as you try this balancing pose. Maybe you try a little mudra with your extended hand to help you balance. I like to bring my third finger and thumb together. Or maybe you find a fixed point somewhere out in front of you to help you balance. Or a chair is great too, or sofa. Release everything. We'll come back to mountain pose. Shake off any negative thoughts that may have collected there. And we'll give dancer a try on the other side. This time grab your right ankle with your right hand. Reach your left hand out in front of you. And then lean forward, kicking back with your right leg as you come into dancer pose. Deep breaths. Be patient with yourself. If you fall out, just try to get back in. There will be other moments when you may feel like you've totally got it. And sometimes one side is just a little more challenging than the other. Be patient and don't be afraid to laugh at yourself a little bit if you fall. Gently release. And we'll return to our mountain pose, grounding here after that balancing practice. Flex your knees. And then bring your hands back to your heart as we sink our hips down and back in a figure 4 chair pose. Lift your left leg and cross that left ankle over your right knee. Try to keep your back straight or as straight as it can be in this pose. Maybe you also update your face here, additional balancing. You can find one point to focus on, and that may help with your balance out in front. See if you can sink your hips a little lower. And then gently rise back up and release, coming back to standing. Take a moment to ground in mountain, and then we'll bring our hands back to our heart. And we'll try figure 4 chair pose on the opposite side, this time crossing the right ankle over the left knee and slowly sinking our hips down and back. Trying our best to keep our spine straight here. Inhale, come back to standing and release. Great work. Reach your arms up and towards the sky and then fold forward. From here, we'll come back to a chair pose, sinking your hips down and back, reaching your arms up and overhead, bending your knees, and then sink your hips down, rise up onto your toes, and lower so that we can get a little bit of practice with crow pose. Plant your hands on the earth, bring your knees to your triceps, and then maybe you float one foot up and then the other. Or maybe you just practice rocking back and forth as you're working on getting closer to a crow pose. If you fall out of crow, totally normal, but it's a great one to come back to. Release. Come back to a forward fold. Slide your hands to your shins, and then release. And from here, walk your feet out about hip width apart, and you can slide your hands under your feet to help you bring your forward fold a little bit more of a deep stretch. This also can give a nice massage to your hands since you're putting some pressure on them from your feet. Take several deep breaths here. We're reaching the last beat of our practice, the last 5 minutes or so. So let yourself have that time to center. Slowly rise back up, nice and tall. Mountain pose. Bend your knees, reach your arms up and towards the sky, and then forward fold. Slide your hands to your shins or to your thighs, release, and come forward in plank. Lower halfway in chaturanga, and then rise up in upward facing dog. Come back through plank, and then push your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Bend your knees and look forward, hop towards your hands, or step, forward fold. Slide your hands to your shins or your thighs once again, halfway lift. And sink your hips down in Malasana or yogic squat. Press your elbows against your knees, and then plant your right hand on the earth. Lift your left hand towards the sky. A Malasana twist, wringing it out as we reach the ending beat of our practice together. If you fall out of this one, it's also okay. Malasana is a bit of a balancing posture too. Then come back to Malasana with your hands pressing together, your elbows pressing against your knees, stretching out your hips and your low back, but also toning the arms here, especially if you're pressing your elbows firmly against your knees. Plant your left hand now and reach your right arm up and towards the sky, getting that Malasana twist in on the other side. Slowly come back to center, bringing your hands to your heart. You can also close your eyes here if that helps you focus in a little bit more on the stretch. Once again, come to that forward fold, and then another plank, lower halfway in chaturanga, and then upward facing dog, before heading to downward facing dog. From down dog, lower your knees to the earth, and come to a cross-legged seat. Once you've made your way there, and I'll adjust the camera a bit, you will plant your hands against the earth and try to lift your hips and your legs and everything up in Lolasana, balancing for as long as you can. If that's just a millisecond, that's okay. Just give it a try. Shrug your shoulders and we'll try Lolasana again, pressing your hands into the earth and lifting your hips, your legs, a little bit of everything. We'll do a seated twist, taking opposite hand to opposite knee, gently looking behind. Maybe you do a little bit of a side body stretch as well as we close out our practice together today. Thank you so much for taking this time to practice with me. I'm so proud of you for showing up. Namaste. And I'll see you next time. Take care.